Okay, there we go, 9 o'clock. Looks like we got tech up, everyone's here. Good morning, welcome everyone to the November 13th Downtown Action Committee hearing. If we could start with roll call, please.
Roger Jansen.
Present.
Nick Mihulich.
Present.
Brian Shagos.
Present.
Stephen Graham.
Present.
Michael Cuevas.
Present.
David Felton. Brad
Present.
McPherson.
Present.
Okay, good, full house, excellent. Next item, you have minutes in your packets, commission members, from the October 10th hearing. Does anyone have any comments, deletions, or a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 10th Downtown Action Committee meeting.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, minutes approved. Item 3, report from City Urban Designer, Ms. Ponte.
Good morning, Ana Maria Ponte. I don't have anything to report this morning. I just wanted to ask the board if we can reorganize the agenda. The applicant for the first case is not here yet, so we're wondering if we can move that one after the TDR cases to give them some time to arrive.
Sure, that's no problem. You want to just move it such that when they arrive, they can squeeze into the next position, or do you want to put it to the end?
We can do all the TDRs and then
Okay,
after
we'll do
them
that.
and the
So
CRA
That would go
cases.
okay, right before the code revision cases. Do we need a motion to do that, or no?
No.
Nope, okay, so done, we'll do that. Moving forward, any ex parte communication by any board members on any today's cases?
No.
So noted. So we'll move right in today's public discussion. Anyone that will be speaking that's in the audience today that needs to be sworn in, that will be providing testimony, please stand up and raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, super. Then we will start with case number TDR case number 2, 19-02, request by Phil Zaveri on behalf of Bright Blue.
Good morning, Elizabeth Levesque, Urban Design Planner. We are actually going to present on the first 4 cases as a group because they all have the same receiving site. So this is case TDR 1902, 1903, 1905, and 1906. Just one thing I wanted to mention, I won't read all of these numbers because they will be gone over by the applicant, but one thing I wanted to mention is that for case number 1906, there was a slight error in the number that was listed in the staff report. I listed 9,378. That should have been 9,375 square feet. So it was just a 3 square feet discrepancy
That's this correct.
typo. And yes, there is a corrected motion as well.
Okay.
So just before we have the applicant present, I wanted to quickly present on the TDR program for those of you that might not be as familiar with the program. So the intent of the TDR program is to use market forces to pay for preservation of historic buildings as well as for the creation of urban open space. Developers can acquire the rights from these sites that can be used at a more suitable location that can be increased development potential at those locations. The TDR program can only be applied to qualified properties that are designated either as eligible sending sites or receiving sites on figure 4-35 in the DMP section of the code. So with that, I'm going to hand over to the applicant to present on these cases, and then I'll have a quick presentation myself as well.
Okay, thanks. But we're still, Elizabeth, going to take each one of these and make a separate vote on each one as they occur, or wait till the end?
Yes, yeah, just at the end of our presentation, we'll have to do a separate motion for
Separate
each.
motion. Okay, thanks.
Is this mine? Sorry. Let's see, this one. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Hi. I'm here on behalf, my name's Susan Thomas with Touchstone Web Realty Company, and I'm here on behalf of the Radisson Blue Group that is the former Cosmopolitan site. So we have, the receiving site is on the corner here of Gardenia. It includes the Russos and the old Eaton Art Gallery site. In order to develop the building that's approved, they need 154,181 square feet of TDRs. So we have had to assemble them in 5 different locations in order to get that quantity of TDRs. And in order to help preserve these 5 sites. So the first sending site is 209 6th Street, which we will be transferring, with your approval, 27,729 square feet, which is all the TDRs they have. They have renovated that building into the butcher shop, and they don't expect to expand any further on that footprint. 415 5th Street, you have already approved this site about 2 months ago. I just put it in here so you are familiar with it, all adding up to the 154,000 plus square feet. The third site is the St. Patrick's. St. Patrick's Church. They will be transferring all of their 49,150. The St. Patrick's is actually doing this in conjunction with the CRA. They did not have the money to do the improvements that are required by the Landmark Committee. Therefore, the CRA is helping them pay for it, and we are doing a simultaneous close so that the contractor gets paid, all the improvements get done that Anna Maria and Frederic wanted done on this property, and they are in construction right now. The 816 9th Street, we are going to transfer 9,158 square feet. This site has some improvements. They are in the process as well. They are transferring all of their TDRs, and they will be paying their contractor when we close. The Heart and Soul site, which is a CRA site, is transferring the balance of 39,750. This is not all of the TDRs that they have on this site. It is only a small portion. This is the site that's going to be the park, and we needed that amount of TDRs to finish off the 154,181. So basically, these are the 5 sites we're getting the total for, and they will be, once you approve this, they will be complete, and that project will be ready to go forward. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions?
Can you just, for everyone's edification, just reiterate what the bonus that this site is receiving due to the TDR program?
154,181 square feet.
Is that square feet translated into building height and stories as well?
You know, I want to say, Anna Maria is going to have to answer that, or Liz. I know that the Cosmopolitan was approved over that 20 stories. This would be the difference in the TDRs. You know, the FAR, that the bonus FAR would equate to the same amount as the TDRs.
Right.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. This site is by right 2.75 FAR and 10 stories. They are designated as eligible site for the Quadrille Garden District Hotel and Office incentive, and they can go from 10 to 25 if they do our office or a hotel, or 30 if they do both, and they can go, the FAR can be increased from 2.75 to 5.5.
Good. Yeah, I just wanted to repeat that for everyone. And then assuming everything is compliant in terms of all those requests, right, with the new TDRs. Okay.
I have a quick presentation as well that just kind of goes over some of the more regulatory aspects. So the revised Cosmopolitan as it's Radisson Blue now. So it was approved by DAC on September 11th, and just as Anna Maria said, it's within Quadrille Garden District 10 to 30 for the hotel incentive, and the max of 5.5 and max of 30 stories. Just the sending site requirements. This is a map that's showing the various sending site locations. The one that came from 415 5th Street was previously approved through DAC case 1901. That came, it was a couple months ago already. And this shows the various locations of the sending sites as well as the subject receiving site. So all historic sites have been inspected by the Historic Preservation Division, and all of the sites required a list of the renovation requirements that they're required to complete. And all of these renovations must be substantially completed prior to receiving the TDR certificate. In terms of the urban open space, the CRA, the Heart and Soul Park, which you have seen previously, that urban open space must meet the requirements of Section 94-109, which essentially means it must be completed as an active recreation area prior to receiving the TDR certificate. So staff has a level of comfort with the CRA-funded projects because that funding is in place, and that is for St. Patrick's at 418 North Sabadilla Avenue and Heart and Soul Park, so case 1905 and 1906. In terms of case 1902, which is 209 6th Street, the butcher shop, that was just recently inspected in the last couple weeks with Frederick Mittner, the city's historic preservation planner, and Anna and myself, and one minor repair is needed, which is just the replacement of a medallion. So you can see the medallion here on the left facade, and it's just missing on the right. So historic preservation thinks it'll be a pretty easy fix, but that'll be required prior to the TDR certificate. And in case 1903 for 816 9th Street, the renovations are underway. They're almost complete. So this is just a picture of before the renovations, and this is a privately owned church, not CRA. And here's some pictures of after renovations. So they removed some of so the fence is removed, there's been landscape installed, they redid the windows, and also removed it was like a stucco finish on the front. So that's looking a lot better. So the recommendation is that staff recommends approval for the TDR cases number 1902, 1903, 1905, and 1906. There is a corrected motion to correct the square feet of case number 1906. Subject to the following condition, that all renovation requirements as required by Historic Preservation Division must be substantially completed prior to issuance of the TDR certificate. Also, we want to amend the TDR case number 1906 condition, which should have said that all requirements for urban open space as required by Section 94-109 must be substantially completed prior to issuance of TDR certificate, and that is also in the revised motion that I gave you. And that is all. But yes, please do read each motion separately, and happy to answer any questions.
And does the applicant need the TDR certificate prior to building permit application or CO, or what's the timing of that?
That, I believe, is prior to CO. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have been working with them because they are going through the process. By the CO, they need to have all the TDR certificates in place. And I mean, like we kind of work with them depending on where the status is, how we're seeing the renovations are going, but we're sure like by the end, they need to have all in place.
CO.
If something happens with any of the approvals that they have to go, I mean, that's what we have discussed with them. They have to go out and find another sending site and transfer other TDRs if the one original transfer did not complete the renovations, for example.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay, questions?
Quick question. Anna Maria, what's the status of the Heart and Soul Park open space construction?
That, we have not seen any permits for that yet. We are waiting for them to resubmit for site plan review. They just have a few minor things left over.
Do they have to-
Gina Baker from CRA
Gina, I
is
saw
here.
Gina. Do they have to just have it, the site plan approved, or do they have to have it constructed in place?
It would need to be constructed,
This says substantially complete.
substantially completed, yeah. It would it would have to meet the site plan, but I'll let Gina talk about the timeline of that.
Good morning.
Thanks, Gina.
Yes, we just received PRAC approval, Parks and Recreation approval, I believe, last night. It is our intention to have it on the next agenda for the Commission for Face of the City approval. At the same time, we're running two tracks. We are about 90% complete with the construction drawings, and they're out to bid with Burkhart Construction. So I fully expect to have those final bids shortly. It's our ambitious intention to begin construction in February of 2020.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff or the applicant?
Just a clarification, the condition that you are recommending, that applies to each of the cases?
No, that would only be the First condition about the renovation requirements will apply to 1902, 1903, and 1905, and that will be replaced with this amended condition for case 1906,
Okay.
because that is not a historic site.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments on either 1902, 1903, 1905, or 1906? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public discussion. Any other comments, any motions? Stephen?
Make a motion. I guess I'll start with case 1902.
Yep.
Make a motion to approve DAC case 1902 as listed in the staff report dated November 3rd, 2019, subject to the condition as listed in the staff report.
Okay, motion second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, 2 carries. Motion for 1903.
Keep rolling. I'll make a motion to approve DAC case number 1903 in the staff report dated November 13 with the condition as listed by staff.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, motion carries. Same. Next, 1905.
Keep going.
Make a motion to approve DAC case number TDR 1905 as listed in the staff report dated November 13th, 2019 with the recommended staff conditions.
Second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, one more.
Make a motion to approve DAC case 19-06 as amended from the staff report as follows, with the clarification that the transfer of development rights is 9,375 square feet, subject to the condition that all requirements for urban open space as required by section 94-109 must be substantially completed prior to issuance of a TDR certificate.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, motion carries. Good. Thank you. Looks like the program's continuing to work well. Appreciate everyone's efforts on that behalf of our historic structures. Is the applicant for that case 19-12 here? We have one?
We have one more TDR.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
Yep, 1904.
So this is case 1904, and Susan Thomas will present, and I have a quick presentation following.
Okay. Hi, we have one more.
not-
303, this is for 303 Banyan. This is Woodbridge's project. This is on the site where Wells Fargo is now. They need 80,000 square feet of TDRs. You have already approved this 415 5th Street one. It was approved as case number 1802 for 36,074, which is the final amount of TDRs for 415 5th Street. But we are here today to ask for approval for the transferring of 43,926, which is Payne Chapel. They are in renovations of the improvements. They are almost complete. Their construction schedule is supposed to be completed by the end of December. As far as I know, they're on track. They had a slow start, but they've gotten there now. So this would complete the TDRs also for 303 Banyan. So that would be the final one for this one. Okay?
Okay, great, thank you. Staff? Oh, Elizabeth, good.
Okay, so for 303 Banyan, the project was submitted on August 13th of this year for residential use. This is subject to DAC special review at a later date. It's still under site plan review right now. This site is within Quadrille Garden District 10 to 15. With the incentive, the FAR can be a max of 3.75, and the height can be a max of 15 stories. So again, the historic site was inspected by the Historic Preservation Division and received a list of the required renovations, which again must be substantially completed prior to receiving TDR certificate. This is also a CRA-funded project, so staff has a certain level of comfort because the funding is in place for these renovations. This is a picture. I just went back on Google Street View, and it's a little tough to see, but you can see some cracking in the facade before renovations, and this is just a recent picture after some of the renovations have been completed. So with that, staff is recommending approval for the transfer of 43,926 square feet from 801 9th Street to the site at 303 Banyan Boulevard, pursuant to requirements of Section 94-132 and Section 94-133. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any comments from anyone in the audience on this case? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the board? Nope, we would like to entertain a motion. Stephen's on the roll.
I'm on a roll. I move that the Downtown Action Committee approve the TDR case number 19-04 as listed in the staff report dated November 13th, 2019, subject to the staff recommended conditions.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Great, approved, thank you. Okay, that ends the TDR cases. So we'll go back to case TD on DAC case 19-12.
Yes, I do believe that we need to do another swear-in.
Oh. Yeah, if anyone's speaking on this case, if you could just raise your right hand and get sworn in, we'll get moving.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, so this is a fence height variance for 1009 North Sapadilla Avenue. This is a request by Dr. Kathleen Spears on behalf of the YWCA Child Development Center for a variance from the maximum height permitted for a fence within the front setback, as provided in Article 4, Section 94-109 of the ZLDRs. So this is the property, 1009 Sapadilla Avenue. It's just north of 9th Street. It is within NWDR, the Northwest District Residential Zoning District. The request is for a variance to allow an increase in the maximum height of the fence within the front yard setback, and this is a variance from Section 94-109 definitions, which limits fences in R subdistricts to be a maximum height of 4 feet within the front yard setback. So this is the site, the YWCA Child Development Center. There is an existing 6-foot chain link fence, which staff researched, and there was no existing permit for that fence. And it does exceed the front yard setback requirements. It is a 6-foot chain link fence, which exceeds by 2 feet. So there's a couple sections of the fence that we're going to discuss. There's the dumpster enclosure, which is completely surrounded by 6 feet of chain link fence. There's a playground area, which is also surrounded both externally and interior to the site with a 6-foot chain link fence. And there's the entrance to the development center, which again, 6-foot chain link fence. And this is a continuation down to the other end. There's a vehicle gate as well, and then the fence extends up the southern border. So the variance request will be for this section outlined here, all the fence along the Sapadilla frontage, as well as all fence sections within the first 5 feet, which is the front yard setback for this zoning district. So this section, and again, the first 5 feet of the fence along the southern border. So the proposed fence along the frontage, it's going to be proposed as a decorative aluminum fence, which staff does believe is a upgrade from the chain link. The sections which are existing chain link on the alley side and the southern side, as well as interior, are to remain chain link fence, but they do need to be included in this variance just because they exceed the 4 feet. And then in terms of the dumpster enclosure, it's an existing location, but staff works with the applicant to get the gate to be aluminum opaque, so at least it cannot be seen as well from the public right away. So I am going to let Dr. Kathleen Spears talk about why she came in, or this Child Development Center came in for this request.
Thank you.
Good morning. The YWCA has been in the community for a little over 100 years, and our Child Development Center has been a part of Historic Northwest for a little over 50 years. And we're really excited to be a part of that community and be a part of beautifying that community and being a partner. What we really are concerned about is safeguarding the children that participate in our Child Development Center. And so we need that height as a protection for the kids. You know, that I'm sure you're familiar with that area and that neighborhood. We're proud to be there, but we also know that it's our duty to safeguard the children that attend our preschool. So the height is necessary to keep our children safe in and on the playground, but also to keep folks from getting over the fence and onto the property. And we're, like I said earlier, very excited to be a part of the community and beautify it. So we think our new fence proposal will definitely elevate the look of the facility and the look of the block. So really, we're just asking for a slight variance in height as a safety measure. And that's really all that we're seeking.
Okay, thank you.
Just to wrap up my summary for staff's understanding of the justification. Initially, staff had concern with the proposed height because it is a residential neighborhood, especially with the height right in front of the building, because the building is not very set back from the height. The playground, we understood. So we initially suggested that the fence surrounding the playground along the front would be proposed at 6 feet, but the rest would be proposed at 4 feet. But we met with the applicant and we recognized that there is a need for security all around the Child Development Center, and the 4-foot fence could easily allow an individual to enter the facility, to hop it, and get even into the entrance of the building, or for a child to easily climb out, which they have had happen before. Staff supports the variance for the increased height at this location and does believe the case to be a reasonable circumstance for a variance. However, staff does wish to impose the condition that the fence be removed and replaced with a 4-foot fence once that use is no longer there, since this variance is directly tied to this use. Staff found the request complies with all 10 variance standards in section 9438D6, specifically that a special condition exists for use of a child care facility within a residential subdistrict. Also, the variance will not be injurious to the area or detrimental to the public welfare. Staff believes that the aluminum fence is an upgrade from the chain link, and that the dumpster enclosure will be a upgrade from the existing condition. So staff does recommend approval for the variance to allow a fence for a height of 6 feet within the front yard setback with the following conditions: that the only section of the fence along North Sapodilla Avenue that can have an aluminum screen so that can be fully opaque is the dumpster enclosure. 2, based on special circumstance that of a child development center, which is peculiar to the land in the residential district, the height of 6 feet for the portion of the fence from the southern property line to the edge of the playground, so the section right in front of that building, is only approved for the Child Development Center use. If the use changes, the fence shall be replaced with a fence meeting the requirements of section 94-109. And that 3, a permit is required for all fences on site, including the existing chain link fence, just so we get that on the record. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant, Kathleen, are you in agreement with the staff's conditions of approval? Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience like to comment on this case before we have any board discussions? Seeing none, we'll close public discussion. Any questions for the staff or applicant?
I just had a detail design question relative to the fence. Will the fence be installed exactly like this picture shows with the finials and the columns?
Yes, we chose that as an extra.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Sorry. First time doing this. We chose that as an extra safety measure to have those on top.
Great, thank you.
And it's also pretty.
Yep, it's a nice design.
Very nice.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I have a question. It's for staff, and I guess Dr. Spears can probably answer it as well. It looks as though the childcare portion, the outdoor section is on the one side of the property, and when you get to, I'm not sure what north is on this, but when you get to the other side of the property where the driveway is, there's no opportunities to kind of lessen having the fence go across, just right across the whole front. You can't turn it back to the building. Securing all the access points and securing the kids area, but like the driveway doesn't need to be blocked off unless you have a clear record that there's been problems like break-ins or, people or vehicles being, I mean, do we have a clear record of that the whole place has to be blocked off versus trying to minimize it and maybe turn the fence at the east, towards, I'm assuming it's the east end where the driveway is? Just looking to try and reduce the overall appearance of that.
Okay, so that's really not, we don't really use it as a driveway. That is actually part of the center. That's where the teachers' offices are. And so just for safety, and we also want to maintain the aesthetic, we would like to have the fence extend. And there is a current chain link there, anyway. So
Gate, I saw that in the photographs. So that area should be secured as well because of
Yes,
the
that's where the
use inside the
teachers-
building and the teachers.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
teachers' offices, yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah, I think it's a nice design. I think if we were seeing this as a fresh application, I could justify all of the variance requests. I think it meets all the standards, and staff has done a good job researching all those components. But just out of curiosity, was this issue brought about by a code violation, or was it the applicant's wish to replace the existing fence, and then it was an issue?
It came in as a permit for a replacement of
So
chain
you
link fence.
applied, and then it was aware, okay, got
And
it.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments or motion? You can do it again.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
Everyone's looking at me. Move the Downtown Action Committee approve DAC case number 19-12 as listed in the... Am I on the right one? Yeah, I am. Sorry. DAC case 19-12 as listed in the staff report dated November 13th, subject to the staff conditions listed on page 15 of the staff report. This motion is based on a determination that the testimony presented at this hearing, along with the application submitted and substantial evidence. The board hereby makes findings of fact that the petition meets all 10 variance standards as outlined in Article 2, Section 9438D6 of the ZLDRs.
Okay, motion, second.
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Good luck with the project. Okay. And we'll move forward back over to code revision case 19-08, city-initiated request for text amendments. Ms. Aponte.
Good morning, Ana Maria Aponte, City Urban Designer for the record. So this is a city-initiated request for a text amendment to Chapter 94, Zoning and Land Development Regulations, Article 4, Section 94-109, Definitions, and Section 94-113, Landscape and Streetscape Requirements, to clarify certain regulations and introduce additional provisions. These their amendments will affect properties within the Downtown Master Plan, Commission District Number 3. As you have seen for the last couple of months, we have been doing a series of kind of amendments, small things that we need to clarify or adjust to the regulation of the DMP. The master plan, it has a very specific regulation with a lot of details that as we go approving projects over time, we notice things that are working, other ones that are not. So this is the process that we have been doing lately. In this case, we have amendments to two main sections. One is Section 94-109 definitions, and these in particular is regarding the private open space. The current regulation has requirements that as any new construction to provide 25% of the lot area as a private open space. When these lots are they have specific requirements larger than 50,000 square feet, or in some cases smaller, depending on the district. The open space definition for the private open space is specifically stated that it's intended for the solely use of the building occupants and has basically 4 types of private open space: the interior courtyard and the garden, the rooftop garden, and the terrace. The one that is most commonly used for the majority of the buildings, the new construction in downtown, is of course the rooftop garden, where we have all the pool decks and amenities. In some cases with the offices, we have seen the terraces and some gardens on the rooftop that are not necessarily necessarily pools, but outdoor gardens. So despite the definition of the private open space does not preclude the private open space to be located on the ground floor, the types of open space do not specifically say that they can be located on the ground floor along the frontage line. So in a couple of cases with recent projects, we have faced this challenge. They do not have a space where to put it on the rooftop due to height restrictions or other conditions, and they have suggested to put it on the ground floor. So we have worked with them and are suggesting to do an amendment that allows a private open space to be located at the ground floor along the lot frontage. And the reasoning for proposing this amendment is the staff considers actually that if a private open space cannot be located on the interior of the building or rooftop, when located at the ground floor will actually enhance the public realm and benefit not only the users of the building or the tenants, but the public in general. However, because of the regulation was so specific, we need to introduce a specific language that clarifies that it is allowed. What we are suggesting at this point is that when the private open space is located at the ground floor along the lot frontage, it shall be in compliance with the public open space standards. That means that, and I just put a picture of the Broadstone City Center, let's say they did not have a space to provide all the private open space inside the building or in the interior courtyard or the roof, they could enhance or enlarge the public open space that they provided at the street frontage, let's say like at 10,000 square feet more or 5,000. However, that space shall be open to the public at grade level and comply with all the requirements of the public open space. So it will be perceived basically as a larger public open space. In one of the cases that we are reviewing, actually the project is small, and they are not required to provide public open space. So in this case, they are using a portion of the private open space to locate it at the ground floor and provide a plaza for the public in general. So we think it's a good thing and will enhance the public realm. That is for that one. Then the next amendments are all in section 94.113, landscape and streetscape requirements. The first one in this one is regarding the exterior lighting. It is specifically to remove the maximum 1 foot candle restriction for exterior lighting as measured at the back edge of the curb and 1 foot above the sidewalk level. Current regulations specifically state that buildings shall provide a minimum illumination on the public realm. The minimum is 0.6 foot candle, and specifically we have a maximum of 1.0 foot candle. We have noticed that the maximum sometimes gets some difficulty to coordinate because it's measured from private sources and public sources. So when you have a public open space with not only the street light along the curb, but also some additional lighting fixtures in the public open space, the light levels are higher than the one, and we start to have issues to have to adjust this. So at this point, we're just suggesting to remove the 1 foot candle as the maximum restriction and let the professionals in the illumination to provide kind of a comfort level for lighting on the above. The minimum still remains at 0.6, so we guarantee a minimum level of light on the public sidewalk. The other requirement is regarding the streetscape requirement, and this is just to clarify. We have certain provisions that require the landscape to be upgraded when improvements are more than 50% of the assessed value. In this case, we're clarifying that that requirement is for all the streetscape requirements. So it's to include provisions that clearly state that all streetscape requirements are applicable to any new construction, renovation, or addition with a construction cost equal to or above 50% of the property's improvement value as indicated by the Palm Beach County Property Appraisal's Office. This is, in some cases, when you have a new construction, a brand new building, there's no issue. It's clear they have to provide all the streetscape. But when we have smaller buildings being renovated, we want to clarify that they are required to provide all the streetscape. In this case, just using this as an example, the renovation for 301 Datura is the corner building at the Datura on Olive. They are totally renovating the building, and the improvement value of the structure is listed as $462,620. The construction cost reported in the building permit is $649,000. So in this case, this building is required to provide the streetscape improvements in front of the property. There are some streets that already have streetscape improvements, like in this case, Olive Avenue already has the trees, the pavers, so they're not required to do anything. But on the Itura side, they were required to replace the trees and put the light fixtures and the bike racks necessary to provide the standards that are specified for anyone else. The other requirements are minimum adjustments to the streetscape requirements. We are putting provisions that specifically state that the maximum street spacing for trees is 30 feet. It was specified an average or 30 feet. We're putting that is the maximum, and adding a provision that says that it may be adjusted by staff or adjustments authorized by staff due to specific site constraints. But this gives us more clear guidance for the private development. It says they have to be spaced at 30 feet maximum. Also adding some provisions that allow smaller trees to be replaced by the larger ones in case we have power lines or something, but in those cases we are requiring those trees to be spaced in a shorter distance so we can still provide the canopy that is necessary. Another change that we have been implementing, depending on the projects, but we want to be sure that we have the regulation clear about that, is that we are proceeding to basically require that the trees to be planted in planting beds instead of the tree grades, and you can see the pictures in here. The left hand side shows the kind of the previous standard where all the trees were planted on tree grades. In this case, we have some areas in the downtown where the sidewalks are wide enough that the tree grade is not necessary. So we are following the approach where the typical section is provided for the minimum 8-foot sidewalk, or even in some cases we have larger, depending on the street. The trees can be planted on planting beds instead of tree grades, and the tree grades are basically reserved for those cases where there's a constraint on the sidewalk and we need additional space for walking. We think this is a good enhancement. It provides additional greenery to the downtown. It helps with the foundation water, so the runoff goes straight into the planter instead of on the rainwater system, and it helps the environment. So we think it's a good approach to do. Other minor amendments are required in the surface parking lots, terminal island, interior islands, and dividers to follow the general code. We had specific regulations in the downtown. The general code was updated a couple of years ago, requiring islands for every 10 spaces, and specifically having a minimum width of 8 feet instead of the 5 that we used to have. So we're just making reference in the DMP to have these provisions follow the general code instead of a specific for the downtown, to kind of follow the same thing for everybody. That concludes the presentation. Staff recommends approval for Code Revision Case 1908. Approval is based on the finding that the petition meets all 8 of the requirement standards found in Section 9432 of the LDRs. The proposed amendment will be presented on the November 19 to the Planning Board, and then subsequently to the City Commission on December 2nd. That concludes the staff presentation.
Okay. Seems very clear to me. Any questions from anyone?
Could you just go back to the tree grates only when needed? And I just don't know if I completely understand. Are we trying to use the planter beds in every case, or what's going to determine whether there's a planter bed or a tree grate?
I mean, we want to do the planter bed as the default, but there are certain circumstances that do not allow it. For example, when there's on-street parking, we have to limit the size of the planting bed. So we allow people to get out and cross to the sidewalk. If it is just a travel lane, maybe the planter beds could be longer. The minimum width will be 4, but they could be longer along the curve. And just reserve the tree grades on those cases where the clearance for the sidewalk is not met.
Okay, so the default is, okay, that makes sense. We're going to use the planter beds as the default. Only if they can't provide enough space, you would still be seeing potentially a tree grate.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So that's the intention, is to provide additional greenery. Ray Caranci, the landscape planner, is here if you have any more landscape.
No, I mean, it sounded a little subjective as far as tree grates only when needed. I just wanted to get a little further clarification as what that meant. That explains it. So.
Okay. Any other comments from it? Oh, sorry.
Just a question for clarification, and then I do have some comments on the open space. So if a development is required to provide public open space, and they wish to provide private open space at the ground level, that private open space is in addition to the public open space. They can't
Yes,
double dip.
exactly. So if they have to provide the 3% of the public open space, they have to also provide 25% of private open space. In some cases, there's, 5,000 square feet that they cannot fit in the rooftop garden. They could expand the private open space and add those 5,000 square feet to the required public open space on the ground level. Yeah, it will always be an addition.
Okay, all right. Just the second comment, and this might be something that I might look to add to any motion for approval. When I'm reading the proposed definition for private open space requirements, it says a private open subsection, or item number 2, a private open space may be located on the ground floor along the lot frontage, but it shall be designed in compliance with the public open space requirements. Now, I kind of put my, my land use attorney hat on. If I really wanted to pick at this, and I'm just trying to remove perhaps some uncertainty in the definition, my concern is that they could argue that, well, the definition for open space public, the requirements themselves, 1 through 10, do not, the specific requirements do not say anything about being available for public use and access. It's only specified in the opening paragraph of the definition. The public open space requirements are really design requirements. I'm just trying to avoid that argument that someone could come in and say, look, I've designed it in accordance with all these requirements, but it doesn't have to be available for public use. So I'd probably be looking at just making a recommendation for that subsection 2 in private open space requirements at the end of the definition, where we say shall be designed in compliance with the public open space requirements and be available for public use and access.
Yep.
Just for certainty. I just want to try to avoid that situation.
Totally makes sense.
Good thought. Any others? No? Okay. Yep. Any comments from anyone in the audience? No. Okay. Anyone like to venture a motion on this one then?
Yeah, I'll keep rolling.
Finish it up.
100% for today. Make a motion to approve code revision case 19-08 as proposed to be amended to the private open space definition to include the recommendation that the private open space be available for public use and access. The recommendation is based on the findings that the petition meets all 8 of the required amendment standards found in section 9432 of the City of West Palm Beach ZLDRs and meets requirements 1 through 8 of that code.
Okay, any second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Good,
Thank you very much.
So that was the last case.
Yes.
So today, any new business or other business? Any comments from anyone you want to discuss today?
I had a quick question just relative to the streetscape, and I was trying to recall the 550 quadrille project design along quadrille. Is that going to have 20-foot shade trees in planters every 30 feet?
Yes.
Great.
Got a nod.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right.
Thank
I
you
will
very
adjourn
much.
today's meeting. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving and see you
Oh,
next
yeah.
month.
Happy Thanksgiving.
it. Thank you. Go ahead. Just real quick. I just accept picture. That sign.